At the Astrayer Marquis residence, Asteria l'Astrayer received an invitation to a ball hosted by the king. She groaned in disgust. Her father asked what she meant by that, and her mother wondered why Asteria had to be so peculiar when her two older siblings had grown up so befitting of the Astrayer name. Asteria recalled her past life. Her cause of death had been overwork. After dying, she was reincarnated into a fantasy world where magic existed. Her past life had been ordinary. Her parents both worked, and she was good at cooking. Nothing brought her more joy than watching people eat with smiles on their faces. After graduating from culinary school, she found a job at a small downtown restaurant. It was a place full of memories where her family had gone only on special days. The restaurant was known for its hamburger steak overflowing with juices and its beef tendon curry simmered until tender. Wanting to bring smiles to more than just her family was what drove her at that restaurant. In her 16th year working there, she was entrusted with a corner of the kitchen. She made dishes like fluffy egg omelette. Then the owner, who was also the head chef, passed away. The owner had left her, and only her, the recipe for the secret sauce he had never taught anyone else. The new owner came from the accounting department. He understood nothing about the meaning of the sauce or the beauty of the plating. He slashed ingredient and labor costs. Even the sous chef with 30 years of experience quit. She was the only one who could make that secret sauce. Every day she spent 18 hours over a frying pan, and she died of overwork. In her new life, Asteria decided she would protect her dignity and be happy. Her father tried to speak to her and asked if she was listening. She apologized and admitted she had not been listening at all. He yelled at her. Asteria skipped her dance lessons, avoided tea parties full of gossip, and never showed her face at evening balls. She had made a name for herself as the hopeless noble lady. Asteria was riding in a carriage with her cousin Eris, who was 1 year older. Eris asked why she looked so gloomy and told her not to be so angry. Eris said her coral pink hair was lovely, but Asteria said she hated it because anyone could tell at a glance that she was an astrayer. And the family's reputation was not exactly stellar. The Astrayer family owned numerous mines and lived in extravagant luxury without fear of decline. Their flaunting of wealth was over the top, and even the guards were knights in gaudy gold. Asteria found it so mortifying that she refused to have guards. But since she had no magical talent either, she kept getting kidnapped, and her parents readily paid the ransom every time, which only made it happen more. In the 16 years since she had been reborn, Asteria had been constantly dragged around by the Astrayer family's circumstances. They spent heavily on charity work yet kept it all a secret. Asteria wanted to live in the capital because she was tired of getting caught up in incidents because of her family. Eris asked what kind of person she would want to marry. Asteria said she wanted someone who would not interfere with her life. Eris suggested she marry someone who had an estate in the capital. Asteria asked who had an estate there, and Eris said only the royal family did, making it impossible. Eris then talked about the popular princes. Number 1 was Lord Kyros, whose stunning looks had the noble ladies swooning. Number 2 was Lord Hector, captain of the knights, who was built like a mountain. Number 3 was Lord Aeon, a priest who was beautiful enough to be mistaken for a woman. Lately, Lord Ixion's popularity has been rising as well. He worked at the Ministry of Magic and had hardly ever appeared in public before, but since he succeeded in the Sacred Beast summoning, people had been seeing his face more often. Asteria had been kept in confinement before her departure, so she had not heard the news about the Sacred Beast summoning. Eris explained that in recent years, stampedes, mass rampages of monsters had been happening across various regions. The knights had spent their days fighting those monsters, but after Prince Ixion succeeded in summoning the Sacred Beast and wielded its miraculous power, the stampedes had subsided. Eris told Asteria that at the ball there would be the unveiling of the Sacred Beast, and that she ought to at least act interested. Asteria said she was not confident she could. 3 days later, they arrived at the royal capital. On the day of the ball, Eris told Asteria she must be nervous. Asteria said she was, in her own way, though Eris did not believe her. Eris had already lost sight of Asteria. Asteria needed to find the attendant they had hired. An old woman approached and asked Asteria her name. Asteria introduced herself as Asteria l'Astrayer. The old woman said she had heard that she was a legendary matchmaker who had arranged over 100 engagements, and she wanted to introduce her third grandchild. But before she could continue, the old woman's corset was laced too tightly and she collapsed. Asteria rushed her toward the infirmary, but the beds were all full. She offered to loosen the old woman's corset for her, but the old woman refused, saying no one could undress her unless they were her lady's maid or her husband. Asteria insisted that she was only loosening the corset strings and that those rules did not apply in an emergency. She asked the others to step aside, loosen the corset, and the old woman felt better. The old woman remarked that she had almost had to bribe her way through. The old woman told Asteria to rest, but Asteria decided to go have a look at the nearby salons. Salons were small social circles where the person who rented the room acted as host and served tea. She had received an invitation from Electra la Harpouille. Asteria thought it was a chance to learn about the ladies of this world and hear about things beyond getting married. A woman at the salon noticed Asteria's hair and guessed she might be the daughter of Count Astrayer. Electra was the host of the salon. Asteria introduced herself. The ladies were excited about the unveiling of the Sacred Beast. They noticed they were wearing matching dresses, which made the situation awkward. The ladies mentioned that Prince Kyros' engagement to Princess Salon of Tethys had been decided, which left only Prince Ixion available. When asked for her thoughts, Asteria just awkwardly agreed. The ladies shared their dreams of marrying distinguished gentlemen and supporting the household. Their hobbies included attending the theater, embroidery, dancing, and tea parties. When asked about her own pursuits, Asteria answered cooking, though she had not done it once since being reincarnated. Electra was shocked. The other ladies said cooking was something the lower classes did and asked why someone like Asteria would do such a thing. They said it involved butchering livestock and getting blood on one's hands. Electra then commented on Asteria's dress, saying that when she wore it, it looked like a dress of blood. Asteria asked what she meant. Someone explained that it meant the dress suited her wonderfully, but Electra added that if two people wore such similar dresses, it was called shameless audacity, and that it crushed one's individuality. Asteria told Electra the dress suited her as well. Asteria then announced she would not be going to the Grand Hall because it was boring. Asteria found the whole experience revolting and went outside to cool down. She decided she would head back once she had calmed down. She then stumbled upon a couple in the shadows. She realized it was Lord Kyros with a married woman. Asteria was stunned that she had witnessed a tryst, especially since Kyros was rumored to be engaged to Princess Salon of Tethys. Kyros noticed something rustling and asked who was there. He ordered his guards to go after her. Asteria ran, thinking that if she was caught it would not end with just a scolding. She jumped down, splashed through water, and hid. The guards searched for a girl in a red dress, asking a carriage driver who said he had not seen anyone matching that description. Asteria managed to slip away through a gate. Asteria noticed her shoes were ruined. She found herself near a storage shed and confirmed the guards were gone. She spotted a building that she thought might be the gardener's break room and considered hiding there for the night, but she dismissed the idea since she was not a criminal. She then noticed a grand palace with high walls and wondered if it was a private palace. She realized with dread that she might have slipped into a place she could not escape from. The gate was locked. She figured she could find someone and ask for help, and if she said she was just drunk it would be fine. Then she heard a man's voice desperately begging, saying the country was in danger. The man was bowing prostrate on the ground. She also heard a child's voice saying it could not protect anyone. A man with long hair demanded to know who was there. Asteria stammered that she was just passing through and that she was from the Count Astrayer family. The long-haired man recognized the Astrayer name as the wealthy household. The man on the ground confirmed it and said he was counting on Asteria's father. The long-haired man noticed Asteria was not wearing shoes and called her a suspicious brat. He apologized and cast a spell called Great Spirit Merv, Medicinal Infinity. He ordered to seize her. There was a flash of light and Asteria screamed. She found herself sitting in a field of flowers surrounded by small spirit-like creatures. A spirit introduced itself as Merv. Asteria nervously greeted it. The long-haired man said he would interrogate her but then said he was hungry. A large fluffy white beast appeared and addressed Asteria, calling her daughter and saying that within her memories there were truly delicious-looking dishes. The beast told Asteria that it wished to feast upon them. Asteria stared at the large drooling creature. Asteria was shocked to realize that the beast could see her past life's memories. The beast described a dish, fluffy yellow stuff wrapped around red grains with a red sauce poured over it. Asteria guessed it was Omuris. The beast confirmed the name and demanded that she make it. Asteria realized that this puppy could see her past life's memories. He asked if omuri could be made. Asteria said she could if she had the ingredients, though it had been ages since she last made one. The man prostrated himself again, begging her and saying the peace of the nation was at stake. They said they probably had the ingredients. Asteria told him to stop prostrating himself. Asteria did not want to get dragged into trouble, but the beast kept begging her. Her stomach growled. She agreed to make it, and the man was thrilled. Asteria told them to make it right now. The man showed Asteria the kitchen and told her to speak up if anything was lacking. Asteria noticed a strange box and asked what it was. The man explained it was a magical tool of his own design called the automatic cooker, also known as the cyst food generator. Asteria was surprised that he had used space transfer magic to create it. The machine could add ingredients and handle everything from peeling to seasoning in just 3 seconds. Asteria bluntly said that everything made with that tasted disgusting and asked what was wrong with calling bad food bad. The man protested, calling it a magnificent device, but Asteria said it was just a matter of personal preferences. A small beast popped in, saying it had come because it heard there was all-you-can-eat gourmet food, but it would not stand being fed nothing but terrible meals. The man was annoyed. Asteria asked what ingredients were needed. The ingredients Merv prepared included white rice and fresh eggs. The man remarked that it would be hard for Asteria to work without shoes. He gave her a pair and asked how they were. She said they were fine and easy to wear. He told her to begin cooking. Merv appeared and Asteria noticed there were many of the small spirits. Asteria recalled how her restaurant's omuris was made. It cooked white rice in tomato soup and added soup made with beef bouillon. She realized that making that from scratch now would take a long time, but the automatic cooker could make soup that normally needed hours of simmering in just 3 seconds. She added the ingredients and it was already done. The pup was certain it tasted terrible, but Asteria said it was delicious. Asteria admitted the magic tool was incredibly useful. She noted that until now they must have been tossing ingredients in without measuring. Asteria agreed that was true but called it a stroke of genius. She asked the man to explain in detail what made it so convenient. The beast told him not to get in the way of the cooking and to go sit in the corner. While the rice cooked in the tomato soup, Asteria's hands still moved naturally. She explained that for her omurice sauce she used to coat meatballs in it. She used to make about 300 meatballs a day and they were so good that people would ask for the meatballs alone. The beast sensed something delicious and tried to climb up. Asteria told it to get down before its fur got in the food. She added egg and chopped onion to the ground meat, kneaded it all at once with chilled hands, rolled it into bite-sized portions and fried them in hot oil until crisp. While still hot, she tossed them in homemade tomato sauce. The rice was done too. She mixed in chopped parsley before letting it steam. She placed sliced cheese in a pot and heated it. Simultaneously, she dropped butter into the frying pan. She said it was a race against time. She filled half of a gratin dish with rice, drizzled the melted cheese over it, layered more rice on top like a lid, flipped it onto a plate, and shaped it with a cloth. Into the heated pan went the eggs. She tapped the pan to form the omurice. When she inserted a knife into the center, the egg opened up. The beast exclaimed that it was beautiful. The fluffy cheese omurice was complete, surrounded by meatballs and tomato sauce. The beast drooled at the sight. Asteria offered some to the man as well, asking if it was his omurice. He confirmed it was. The beast took a bite and declared it was so good, saying the meat juice burst out and the savory flavor exploded in its mouth. Asteria wondered if it was a food critic. The man also took a bite and reacted with surprise. The beast continued, saying the cheese mellowed the acidity and made the flavor even deeper. The man quietly said it was delicious. He told Asteria that the dishes she made were the best. The beast also said it was wonderfully delicious. Asteria was caught off guard. The beast asked Asteria for her full name. She answered Asteria Lysaandra. The sacred beast Lycon then made a command, appointing Asteria as its Merv manager. A magical crest appeared on Asteria's arm. She asked what had just happened. The man explained that it was a contract, and that unfortunately for her she had been chosen as the sacred beast Lycon's meal attendant. Asteria demanded to know what that meant. The man said it was nothing difficult. Lycon explained that the dishes from her memory looked delicious and as long as she made them that was all it needed. Lycon also promised that as long as she stayed on as its meal provider it would protect the country from all calamity. Asteria was shocked. Lycon declared that she was now officially its meal provider. Asteria then asked if the beast was the sacred beast itself. Lycon confirmed and offered to show her its true form as a special treat. Lycon transformed into a massive white wolf. Asteria and the man were stunned. Lycon remembered there was a presentation to attend and told the man it was so delicious that it had completely forgotten. The omurice had been so good that it lost itself in it. Lycon told Asteria to get on its back. She asked where they were going. Lycon said it would not make her go through any hassle and that it would be quick. The man told her to just get on. Asteria climbed onto Lycon's back and noticed its fur was very fluffy. Lycon told her she could fluff it as much as she liked. She thanked it. Using space transfer magic, Lycon teleported them into the grand hall of the ball, arriving with Asteria and the man on its back. The crowd was stunned into silence. The man confirmed Asteria's name and addressed the crowd. He announced that the white wolf was the sacred beast Lycon, and that as long as it existed, the nation's peace would continue. He then introduced Asteria as the maiden chosen by the sacred beast Lycon. The crest on her arm was proof of Lycon's protection. He called her Astrayer la Astrayer and declared that furthermore she was his fiancée. The crowd cheered for the sacred beast and for Lady Asteria, maiden of the sacred beast. Asteria was completely shocked and realized that the man had been Lord Third Prince Ixion all along. Ixion said that now the kingdom was secure. Asteria thought to herself that there was not a shred of security in her heart at all. She cried out, wondering how it had come to this. Asteria was touching Lycon's paw pads, which felt squishy and soft. Lycon said he maintained them daily with paw pad cream. Asteria questioned whether daily maintenance made him a maiden. Asteria recalled her situation. In her past life she had been a chef in modern Japan, and now she had become Lycon's cook. Lycon had used his guardian power the day before, so he was back in his small puppy form. He demanded that she make him food. The price for Lycon protecting the nation was delicious meals, and Asteria had received the crest of protection on her hand which would shield the country from calamity forever. A maid asked if that was okay with her, calling her the master chef wife. Prince Ixion, who had summoned Lycon, was overjoyed since he himself had not received the crest of protection. The hopeless prince had locked himself in the research lab without breakfast. Asteria woke up shouting that it was not okay. Lycon greeted her, calling her the hopeless prince's delicious bride. Asteria insisted she was not his wife. Lycon corrected himself, saying she was still just engaged. Ixion appeared and said she was also his fiancée. Asteria said that was not the point. Asteria recalled that Ixion had been told to name a fiancée at the ball in the first place, so if he set her up as a temporary fiancée, people would not nag him about marriage. She had been too stunned the night before to speak back, but today she was determined to protest properly. She noticed that Ixion had prepared dresses, cosmetics, and even undergarments for her and wondered if he was a pervert. Lycaon told her to hurry up and make food. She noticed the clothes were from Lord Ixion. Asteria agreed that Lycaon could see the dishes from her memories, and it seemed he could also hear her inner thoughts when he wanted to listen. She thought that was a problem, but the level of preparation Ixion had made suggested he had no intention of letting her go back to her family's home. She decided to get changed, and noticed the size was perfect. The night before, Asteria had told Lycaon he could come out. Lycaon said formal speech and titles were too stiff and there was no need for them. He also said he did not need formal speech or titles from her either. Asteria asked what he wanted for breakfast, and Lycaon said the tamagoyaki thing sounded delicious. She noted that he really liked eggs, and he confirmed that he did. Asteria noticed there were no maids or attendants at the palace. Lycaon explained that the hopeless prince found servants bothersome, so he had Merv handle his personal care. Asteria asked Merv to bring the ingredients. There was leftover tomato soup rice from yesterday, so she decided to turn it into a risotto, make an omelet, and maybe some soup too. For the first dish, she added the rice cooked in yesterday's tomato soup and made consommé soup using the automatic cooker, which she found very convenient. She added Chloe mushrooms for texture and mixed everything together, then simmered it until the moisture was gone. For the second dish, she added bacon, carrots, and onions to the consommé soup and heated it to finish. A simple soup made by just cutting and adding ingredients. Lastly, she made tamagoyaki. She used the auto-cooker to make a seafood-based broth and mixed it with the beaten eggs. She added just a pinch of salt and a touch of sugar. To get a nice smooth finish, she strained it once through a clean cloth since there was no strainer. She oiled the pan and poured in the egg mixture, rolling it carefully. She said it was perfect and done. Asteria mentioned that she would have loved to add grated daikon and soy sauce, but sadly soy sauce did not exist in this country. Lycaon said delicious-looking memories just flowed into him and that he too wished to try soy sauce. Asteria scolded him for peeking without permission. For the first dish, the risotto-like creation was nearly done. She added cheese and simmered it until creamy, then sprinkled black pepper and plated it. Lycaon declared it was time to go to the hopeless prince. Asteria pointed out they were eating in the dining hall. Breakfast was ready, the risotto, tamagoyaki, and soup were laid out. Asteria brought the food to Ixion's research lab, where Lycaon leapt onto him. Ixion told her that honorifics and formal speech were not necessary. Asteria replied that forbidding formal speech with royalty was harsh. Asteria tried to apologize for her rudeness the night before, saying she had been confused and had been terribly rude. Ixion told her it did not bother him. She insisted he stand up and listen, and even suggested getting the engagement annulled for lèse majesté. He pointed out that she had been speaking normally the night before. She admitted that was true, but said she had suddenly gotten formal. Lycaon interrupted, asking if they were done with their married couple comedy routine because he wanted to eat. Ixion told Lycaon that Asteria had made breakfast. Ixion said the food helped because he was starving, and Asteria noted he was a prince who actually helped out. Before they ate, Ixion forbade formal speech. Ixion asked what the red dish was. Asteria explained it was a risotto-style dish made from yesterday's leftovers. He said it was clever to cook with leftovers. He then asked about the square omelet, and Asteria told him it was a dashi rolled omelet. He said he had never seen anything like it before. Ixion took a bite and was shocked, saying he had never tasted anything like it. He could not put it into words how delicious it was. He said a deep rich soup flooded out from between the layered folds of egg, and he wanted to know what the layer of egg so condensed with umami was. Asteria explained that the broth in the tamagoyaki was made with Ixion's auto-cooker. She said it seemed the creator of the magic tool simply did not know how to use it. Ixion was stunned. Asteria then brought up the engagement matter from the day before and asked if he could annul it. Ixion was shocked. Asteria explained that making her a stopgap fiancé did not solve anything, because if they broke it off in a few years the same problem would just come up again. She told him that since it had come to this, she had to speak honestly. She thought it was a good opportunity for him to properly decide on a fiancé, and that would be for his own good. Ixion said she was exactly right and that his eyes had been opened. He told Asteria he would welcome her as his official fiancé. Asteria was stunned and asked why that would happen. Asteria protested, asking why her. She told him to choose a suitable woman other than herself. Ixion replied that she had told him to do exactly that. He said birth and family status did not concern him, and that she was different from the others. Without flattering him, she held firm to who she was. Asteria insisted that was not true at all, saying she was a woman from a family with no tact and money as its only redeeming quality. Ixion told her not to be modest. Lycaon noted that Ixion had entered complete "you're an amusing woman" mode. Asteria thought there had never been a woman who spoke her mind to the prince before, so no matter what she said, she just sounded like she was trying to be interesting. Asteria tried a different approach. She said there were plenty of more interesting women in the world. She asked how old Ixion was, and he said 19. She then played her trump card, telling him she had memories of her past life. Lycaon confirmed it was true. She explained that the dishes she had served were home-cooked meals from the world of her past life, and that she had just used recipes from a great person in another world. so she was not amazing at all. Ixion found that unusual but was not fazed. Asteria said she had died at 34 and was now 16, making her 50 years old combined. She thought perhaps the age gap between her and Ixion was too large. Ixion replied that it was said that everyone undergoes reincarnation, and if you counted every previous life, anyone would be an absurdly old age. He said no matter how many times a person was reborn, their nature never changed, and it was her nature that he had taken a liking to. He asked if that would satisfy her. Asteria asked what he meant by her nature. Ixion said it was that carefree side of hers. Understanding the situation was troublesome yet still accepting it. He asked if that was meant to be a compliment. Ixion explained that his older brother's marriages carried heavy political weight, while he was supported by no one, hardly ever participated in official events, and was whispered about as the shut-in prince. He wondered whether those around them would even accept a marriage between an astrayer and royalty given the astrayer family's poor reputation. Explained that he had kept showing reluctance toward marriage proposals until he was ordered to marry anyone at all. Even a commoner girl could be adopted into a noble house just to grant the necessary status. Asteria realized it really could have been anyone. Ixion said that was it, and that he wanted to hear her answer. His gaze was intense and Asteria internally cried out for her father's help. She told Ixion she would leave the decision to her father if her father permitted it, she would marry Lord Ixion. Ixion said he understood. Asteria imagined how it would go. Her father would never send a daughter with no consort training to marry into royalty. He could settle it with money and send the daughter back home. The nation would get a fortune, and it was a win-win with not a single problem. For guidance around the palace and daily life, she could ask Merv. Ixion said he would be away for a few days. Asteria asked if she could go home just once, but Ixion flatly refused. He told her asking Lycan to teleport her was also forbidden. He explained that there might be people who would try to exploit the holy beast's maiden. Asteria understood, saying she supposed she could not even trust her own family. Ixion told her he would have her endure some inconvenience for a while and asked her to bear with it for now. Lycan pointed out that for someone with zero resistance to handsome guys, she had been quite reluctant to marry. Asteria panicked, saying she did not have a shred of resistance to hot guys and that Ixion's handsome power had made her nod without thinking. She told Lycan not to converse with her inner thoughts. Lycanon apologized. Asteria left, praying that her father wins. Asteria recalled that Ixion had told her to ask Merv for anything she needed regarding palace life or getting around. She thought she might have Merv show her around the palace. Merv announced it would guide Asteria through the palace. Asteria was caught off guard. Merv led her to a large door. When it opened, Asteria was shocked to find a massive indoor field full of growing crops, lit by floating crystal-like magic stones. The field was equipped with sun magic stones for light and watering devices. The Merv were grown on field carpets, which were magic tools. The field carpets were an invention of Prince Ixion that allowed farming anywhere, with the patent still pending. Asteria bit into something from the field and found it sweet. Merv then showed her where they raised livestock. Inside the palace there were cows, pigs, and chickens roaming around. Asteria was stunned. Merv explained they had been using pasture carpets and sun magic stones, with Merv's help. Merv continued the tour, showing her wheat fields, a lake, and a bakery for making sweets. Asteria could not believe that the prince was living a slow, self-sufficient life inside the palace of all places. Lycan explained that Ixion did not want merchants inside the palace, so he decided to be self-sufficient for everything he needed. That was why allowing someone in just to prepare clothes had been such a shock. Asteria asked how many Mervs worked there. Merv said over 100, maybe. Asteria asked if it was hard being worked so much. Merv said it was not hard and that it was fun. Due to magical energy consumption issues, if the Merv increased too much, the trees in the forest would wither and cause environmental problems. There had been too many Merv in the forest, so Prince Ixion invited them to the palace, and they seemed to be working happily every day. Asteria thought the Merv were sweet and realized that was how Prince Ixion had achieved his reclusive lifestyle. Merv mentioned that a dress workshop had been set up the day before as instructed, and that if she wanted a dress, it would be ready in 3 days. Asteria thanked Merv and remarked the palace was turning into a shopping mall. The Merv served her tea. Asteria was exhausted from the tour. The tea had a lovely fruity scent. Asteria tasted it and was shocked at how delicious it was. She asked what kind of tea it was and Merv said it was Merv tea. Her fatigue vanished completely. Merv leaves were apparently medicinal herbs with recovery effects. Merv asked if she was feeling better. Asteria said she was and decided to prepare lunch. She asked if there was anything specific they wanted to eat. Lycan said he wanted to try that gratin thing. Asteria was relieved it was not a soy sauce or myron dish. Asteria noticed there was no macaroni in the kitchen. She said if they did not have it she would just make it. She found semolina flour, a type of wheat flour, and began making macaroni by kneading it while adding lukewarm water. She thought she could not let her guard down because if she did not knead it well it would lose its chewiness. She wrapped the dough around a thin iron rod, pulled it out, and cut it. The fresh macaroni was complete. Lycan was stunned. Lycan asked if she had just made macaroni with white powder. Asteria explained it shortened the cooking time. made the sauce cling better, and improved texture. Lycaon said he could not wait to eat it. Asteria began making the white sauce by putting butter into a frying pan, adding flour, and mixing. Once the flour and melted butter were blended, she added milk and mixed further. Lycaon described it as macaroni made with white powder coated in sauce made with white powder, and called it a terrifying dish. Asteria told him she had made him promise not to say that. Asteria added nutmeg for accent, then pepper, and the white sauce was done. She began making the filling. She cut the bacon into thin strips, lightly sautéed them, mixed everything and moved it to a deep dish, topped it with plenty of cheese and baked it. The gratin came out bubbling. Merv exclaimed that it was gratin. Asteria served it in the dining hall and told Merv she would let them have a special taste too. Asteria told them to wait for it to cool down. Lycaon asked if there was more. Asteria noted that stretchy cheese was irresistible when hungry. Lycaon was overwhelmed with delight. Lycaon tasted the gratin and declared it was delicious. He was amazed by the sauce's creamy smoothness and the macaroni's chewy texture, saying the harmony between them was incredible. He said the sauce was rich yet spicy and that he had never tasted anything like it. Asteria noted he had taken a liking to the nutmeg. Lycaon declared it was the best. Asteria told Lycaon she would show him an even better way to eat it by placing the gratin on a baguette. Lycaon was shocked that gratin, which was made with flour, was also eaten on bread which was also made from flour. Asteria reminded him she had told him not to say that. Lycaon dove into the gratin bread. Lycaon went into food review mode, declaring the macaroni was like edible pearls and the gratin sauce had a flavor as deep and vast as the sea. He called it a miraculous dish. Asteria noted that was his usual food review. Lycaon said the meal was truly delicious and that he was in very good spirits. He called Asteria by name and told her he would grant her a special wish. Asteria asked what he meant. Asteria could not think of anything. She said news of her marriage had already spread and her father had already gotten plenty of shocks. Lycaon suggested things like wanting to blow up the palace or giving her father a nasty shock. Asteria called that violent and said if the palace disappeared, Prince Ixion would never recover. She explained she was born into the wealthy Astrayer family and never wanted for anything, so she had nothing in particular she wished for. Lycaon asked if she was serious, reminding her he was the mightiest sacred beast. He asked if she wanted to ride on his back and fly through the sky. Asteria said she was not fond of thrill rides. Lycaon said a woman as selfless as her was a first and that she was worthy of being Prince Ixion's bride. Asteria said she was not happy about that. Lycaon was confused by the concept of a roller coaster, asking where the thing even went. Asteria explained it was just for enjoying the thrill of fear and was not for transportation. Lycaon said it was a world full of entertainment that made no sense. Asteria then made her actual request. She asked Lycaon to stop using her memories like some kind of Wikipedia. Lycaon apologized. Asteria said she wanted to experience farm work. Merv pointed out that the potatoes were nearby. Asteria noticed the potato field was far away and said it would take at least 10 minutes on foot. Lycaon transformed into his large form and told her to get on his back. Asteria tried to refuse, saying it had been scary the day before and she could walk that distance herself. Lycaon told her to just get on. Asteria gave in to the pressure. Lycaon took off at great speed with Asteria screaming on his back. They arrived at the field instantly. Merv asked if they should begin. Asteria, still shaken, agreed. Asteria excitedly showed Lycaon the potatoes they had dug up, saying they had picked so much. She was wearing clothes borrowed from Merv. She said that in her past life she had been too busy for a garden, but she had always dreamed of cooking with crops she grew herself. She found it strange. Merv mentioned that Prince Ixion also came to do farm work. Asteria was surprised. Lycaon said Ixion also found touching the soil to be healing and that Ixion had said the same thing. Asteria was shocked, saying she had thought he left everything to Merv. Lycaon called Ixion quite the eccentric, explaining that while developing magic tools he personally worked the fields and tended the livestock. Asteria asked what the magic tools were for. Lycaon said Ixion had said it was so the people could lead prosperous lives. Asteria thought that an automatic cooker would make things easier for everyone, but due to material costs it had not been commercialized, and research funding was not coming through either. She thought she could ask her father for funding but then caught herself, thinking that was too much like saying if they have no bread let them eat cake. They moved on to planting cabbage. Instead of sowing seeds directly in the field, they planted them in small pots and would transplant them once they had grown enough. She planted the seeds with tweezers and gently covered them with soil. Asteria said she might actually love planting seeds. Lycaon pointed out that Prince Ixion had also said it was healing. He remarked that the two of them really shared the same tastes. Asteria denied it. She asked if all the vegetables were consumed within the palace. Merv said any leftovers were donated to orphanages and hospitals. Asteria thought about it and said that Prince Ixion was actually a truly incredible person. Lycaon asked if she had fallen for Ixion all over again. Asteria said she had never fallen for him in the first place, so there was nothing to fall for again. Lycaon called that harsh. Asteria admitted her image of Ixion had completely changed. She thought that if he were not royalty she might have accepted a proposal, though she noted that Elizabeth from a famous musical had said the same thing. Asteria thought about what marrying into royalty meant, being tossed about amid schemes, ideologies, and politics, struggling, suffering, and ultimately being assassinated. She believed terrifying circumstances would be lying in wait and resolved that she would not let anyone interfere with the life she had been reborn into. Merv announced there was a visitor. Electra from Duke Harpuia's house had come saying she wanted to meet Lady Asteria. Asteria was shocked. Electra from the Harpuia ducal house had arrived at the palace wanting to meet Lady Asteria. Asteria thought that if she refused the meeting it would only earn resentment, but she had wanted to think about what to make with the potatoes she had just picked. She told Merv to show Electra to the garden. Electra was stunned to see Asteria covered in dirt. Asteria greeted her and asked what business she had there, noting that as Electra could see she was busy. Electra said she had come to inquire about the circumstances of how the maiden of the sacred beast was chosen and became Prince Ixion's fiancé. Asteria simply told her that she was chosen or something like that. Electra said that made no sense and that it was not what she wanted to hear. Electra called Asteria a potato girl and declared she was not suitable for Prince Ixion. She asked if Asteria's position was one gained by piling up money. Asteria calmly noted that she was being called a potato girl because she was holding potatoes. Electra said that was not what she meant, calling Asteria unrefined, unnecessarily abundant, and covered in dirty things like potatoes. She said that was why she had pointed out that Asteria was a common existence. Asteria simply responded that she understood. Electra got angry that Asteria was so unbothered. Lycaon suddenly jumped between them and swatted at Electra. Electra was startled and asked what the puppy was. Asteria explained that it was the sacred beast, the talking dog kept by Prince Ixion. Electra asked if that was really Prince Ixion's sacred beast. Lycaon confirmed it was true, saying he did not lie. Lycaon told them not to engage in physical quarrels and that it was unsightly. He told them to fight with cooking instead. The one who made the most delicious dish would win. Electra was confused and asked what that was supposed to mean. Lycaon explained that if he appealed to have the winner made Ixion's consort, Ixion would agree. Electra asked if that was true. Lycaon confirmed it, and Asteria agreed it was true. Lycaon said the theme would be soup. There would be a time limit for the cooking, and the one who made the more delicious soup and fed it to him within the time limit would be declared the winner. He added that he promised to recommend the winner as Ixion's consort. Electra told Asteria that since she was not a cook, she could bring a cook from her family. Electra said she understood and that if that was how she would become Ixion's consort, the match had its benefits for Asteria too. Asteria thought that if Lycaon liked Electra's soup, she could give up the engagement. She asked Electra if she would accept. Electra agreed. Asteria thought it was a chance to face a professional chef. Lycaon remarked it was a fair match for both sides, as expected of the self-proclaimed strongest sacred beast. The cooking time was set at 5 hours and they would meet again in that same spot. To ensure a fair judgment, Lycaon would not watch the cooking and would sleep instead. Asteria went to the kitchen and wondered what kind of soup she should make. A giant rabbit came crashing through. It had escaped from the livestock shed. Asteria figured it must have sensed its life was in danger. She caught the rabbit and said she was going to butcher it and make it into meat. Merv asked if it could also have a little rabbit meat. Merv brought the meat and apologized for the wait. Asteria thanked Merv and decided on soup pie. She recalled it had been a popular menu item at the restaurant in her previous life, so popular that many customers came specifically for it. She started by putting chicken bones and lean rabbit meat into the pot. She added onions, carrots, and mushrooms and added the other vegetables whole. She let it simmer for a while. At the same time, she made the dough by adding flour, milk, and drippings, then kneaded it until smooth. She rolled out the dough, folded in the drippings, and rolled it out again. She repeated that process many times. While the dough rested, she skimmed the scum from the broth. She chose the right plate, wanting the dish to look delicious for Lycaon to eat. Once the ingredients in the pot had softened, she strained the broth. She mixed minced meat, egg white, grated potato, and carrot together, then added the mixture to the remaining broth. The egg white absorbed the scum from the broth. She strained it further and simmered it until it became clearer. The consommé was completed. She poured the soup into a deep dish. She deliberately added no ingredients to the soup itself. She covered it with pie dough and brushed it generously with egg yolk. She baked it in a heated oven. The delicious soup pie was finished. Both Asteria and Electra stood ready with their dishes. Lycaon announced the tasting would begin. Electra's chefs presented the Harpuia family's 500-year traditional soup and boasted that it could never lose to an amateur's soup. Lycaon said he would taste them without knowing who made which. He started with Electra's soup. Asteria told herself she had put in everything she had and had not cut any corners. Lycaon tasted the Harpuia family's oxtail soup. It was beautiful and elaborately presented. Merv read out the points the chef had worked hard on, noting they had simmered an entire cow for the soup. Lycaon exclaimed at the incredible richness and depth. He said the meat was tender and melted on the tongue. He was amazed that a soup of that caliber had been finished in just 5 hours. Electra's chefs begged Lycaon to savor it, saying all the deliciousness had been packed into the soup. Lycaon said he understood and moved on to try the next soup. Lycaon looked at the soup pie. He noted it was a soup covered with a pie crust, which was unusual. He broke through the crust, which crumbled tenderly. The soup inside was clear. Lycan tasted it and was stunned by the intensity and richness. The buttery aroma of the flaky pie crust made the soup even richer. He declared that heaven and earth had melted together into a single blissful bowl. The victor had been decided. Lycan declared the winner was the soup pie. Asteria cheered. Electra asked how she could have lost. Asteria confirmed it was her dish. Electra's soup had been delicious too. Lycan explained that it was not enough just to make a dish. He said the soup pie had the playful spirit of breaking through the pastry to savor what lay beneath, and the hospitality poured into crafting the soup itself. He said consideration for the person eating it was woven throughout. However, Electra's soup was clouded by ambition and ulterior motives. Electra protested, asking him to judge properly by taste alone. Lycan admitted that in terms of richness and depth of the soup alone, the oxtail soup was superior. But he pointed out that the oxtail soup could not have been made in 5 hours. He asked if the soup was pre-made. Of course, a soup using an entire cow could not possibly be done in just 5 hours. Electra was stunned. Electra shouted that she would remember this and yelled Asteria's full name before storming off. Asteria said the storm had passed. She admitted it had been fun. She said that as she thought, she really loved cooking. Lycan told Asteria she had done well to protect her position as fiancé. Electra demanded a rematch in the background. Lycan noted that he doubted Ixion would have accepted Electra's proposal anyway. Asteria asked if that was true. Lycan said Ixion was stubborn, and once he decided something he absolutely would not change course. Electra shouted that in that case his marriage to her should be the same. Asteria asked Lycan to refuse. She noted that when it came to stubbornness her father was just as bad. Lycan mentioned that speaking of Ixion he had heard Ixion was heading straight to the Astrayer family estate. Asteria was shocked. Ixion said he was going out for a bit. Ixion arrived at the Astrayer estate and remarked that it was Asteria's family home. Asteria wondered how things had ended up like this. 10 days later Ixion returned to the palace. Asteria welcomed him back, saying she had been waiting for him the whole time. Ixion was surprised and said he had not expected to be welcomed like that. Asteria told him she only wanted to hear about his talk with her father. Ixion admitted that having someone to welcome him was not bad. Asteria thought that feeling was not unfamiliar to her either, having been a single woman living alone in her late 20s in her previous life. Asteria asked what her father had said. Ixion told her that her father said he could not allow the marriage. Asteria was thrilled. Ixion then said that in response he told her father that if he did not give permission, Ixion would not leave the Astrayer estate. Asteria thought that was just as expected of a stubborn man. Asteria asked what her father said to that. Ixion explained that her father said quite flatly that Asteria was not a daughter fit to be married into the royal family. Asteria cheered for her father. Then for the next 3 hours there was an exchange of her father saying please leave and Ixion saying I'm not going. Finally, when Ixion prostrated himself and begged, her father reluctantly gave in. Asteria was horrified and said that a royal should never have to bow to a noble subject. Ixion presented the marriage permit, announcing that their marriage was now permitted. Asteria was stunned. Asteria said the situation was giving her a headache. Ixion said that was a coincidence, because Lord Astrayer's stubbornness had given him a headache too. Asteria told Ixion he would regret marrying someone like her. Ixion replied that regret was a word that did not exist in his vocabulary, and told her to be quiet. Ixion mentioned that during his absence another problem had cropped up. He said that the daughter of the Duke Harpuia ducal house had entered the palace without permission the other day, so he had lodged a protest from their side. Asteria was shocked and asked why they would protest. Ixion asked why she had permitted Electra's entry. Asteria said she did not really have the right to refuse. Ixion told her that she did since she was his fiancée. Ixion then said that the engagement between his brother and Princess Salon had been broken off. Asteria was shocked. She recalled that at the ball it had been announced that Lord Kyros' engagement to Princess Salon of the Kingdom of Thetis had been decided. She asked why it happened so suddenly. Ixion explained that the engagement had been annulled by Princess Salon apparently because she said his older brother's heart belonged to another woman. He mentioned it might have been a woman's intuition. The news was causing a huge stir in high society since the seat of the crown prince's fiancé was now vacant. Asteria thought the other woman was likely the married woman she had seen that day at the ball. Ixion said his brother was searching for a certain lady, but his only clue to her identity was a single shoe she had left behind. Asteria was stunned that Prince Kyros was actually looking for that woman. Since he was hunting for the owner, women were flocking to him, each claiming the shoe was theirs. Asteria thought it was like Cinderella. Ixion said his brother wanted to propose, saying, "You are my destined woman, please marry me." Asteria asked him to look at the beautiful roses, trying to change the subject. Ixion asked Asteria if she was all right. Asteria panicked, wondering if they thought she was the one who had told Princess Salon about Prince Kyros' infidelity. She insisted to herself that she had not told anyone. She then worried that Kyros might be planning to track her down to protest the broken engagement. She suddenly realized the shoe was hers. She had thrown it in the pond so it would not be found, and yet somehow it had been recovered. She was horrified and thought it absolutely must not be revealed that the shoe was hers, because if she was caught, a scolding would be the least of her worries. Ixion said his older brother had asked him to investigate. He showed the shoe and Asteria was shocked to see it right there at the palace. Ixion said he had been stuck with one of them. He noted it was a small shoe and said the owner must be a petite woman, like a fairy. Asteria screamed internally that no matter how you looked at it, it was her shoe. Ixion said he would put it through a magic analyzer rather than search for the owner. Asteria sighed about how there were always so many troubles. Ixion explained that the magic analyzer was his own invention, and that from the faint magical residue remaining he could read the owner's characteristics and narrow down the person's profile. Asteria thought it was like DNA testing from another world and panicked, realizing they would find out it was hers. She thought she had to stop this somehow, and the only way she could stop him was with cooking. She called out to Prince Ixion and asked if he was hungry. Ixion agreed and suggested they go catch some fish at the farm and have them prepare a fish dish. Asteria said she had not seen the fish farm yet but that all the magic tools were amazing. Ixion explained that his father and older brother Aeon criticized his magic tools, saying they were useless if they could not be mass-produced. Asteria asked if the material costs were high. Ixion said only his brother Kyros always acknowledged and encouraged him, and that was why he wanted to be of help if Kyros was ever in trouble. Asteria thought she needed to change the subject. She asked what kind of person his other brother was. Ixion described his older brother Ion as a very scary person who, whenever he saw Ixion, told him to fulfill his royal duties, not be a shut-in, and work. He said Ion did not like him and was always angry. Asteria noted that Ion treated Ixion the complete opposite of how Prince Kyros did. Asteria told Ixion that was not true. She said that giving someone your opinion was very exhausting and you would not bother doing it for someone you did not even like. She said being strict was also a form of love, something she had learned from a very strict sous chef in her previous life. Ixion said he had not known that. They arrived at the fish farm and the Merv welcomed them enthusiastically. Asteria noted the Merv were so lively. Ixion told her not to lean in too far because it was dangerous. He explained that the room was connected to the actual sea through a spatial spell, and if she fell in, the spell would pull her in and she would never return to the surface. Asteria told him not to say such scary things so casually. She noticed a mackerel-looking fish swimming in the water. Ixion confirmed it was called a mackerel in their country too. Merv caught one with a net. Asteria asked for a stick or something to hit it with. Ixion asked what the stick was for. Asteria struck the mackerel right between the eyes, knocking it out with a single blow. She explained that she had butchered a lot of fish in her previous life and that killing it right away would cause bacteria to multiply and ruin the taste. It was also hard to fillet while it was still flopping around, so keeping it alive until right before cooking and then knocking it out worked better. Ixion was taken aback. The shoe fell into the fish farm water. Ixion panicked about his older brother's precious shoe. Asteria tried to stop him, telling him not to jump to conclusions. Ixion asked why she was so sure it was not a precious shoe. Asteria shouted that it was because it was her shoe. Ixion was stunned and asked why his brother had Asteria's shoe. Ixion wondered if his brother had fallen in love with Asteria at first sight. Asteria said absolutely not. Asteria decided that since the shoe situation was causing so much commotion, it was not a problem she could just ignore. She sighed and told Ixion she would tell him everything, and asked him to sit down. She explained that on the night of the ball, in the garden, she had seen Lord Kyros getting cozy with a woman who appeared to be married. He noticed her and had his guards give chase. She threw her shoe in the pond to escape, hid in a gardener's cart, and that was how she ended up at Ixion's palace. Ixion now understood how she had been able to enter his palace. He said it must have been Lycanon and his own guidance that led to their meeting that day. He seemed to find it impossible that his brother would commit such infidelity. Asteria thought Prince Kyros surely believed she was the one who had told Princess Salon about his affair. She asked why he was looking for her then. Ixion said his older brother was not the type to suspect someone without evidence. He asked Asteria if she did not want to see his older brother. She nodded, saying he would scold her for sure. Ixion paused and then said he understood, and that he would keep quiet about this. Asteria asked if it was okay to lie to Prince Kyros, whom Ixion respected. Ixion said that even if it was his brother, he would hate for him to take Asteria away. Asteria said she really should not make Ixion lie and that she would tell Prince Kyros honestly that it was her. She said they should go meet Prince Kyros after this. She wondered why Kyros had taken such a liking to her. Ixion was frustrated, saying that if his older brother wanted Asteria, it was not happening. But Kyros would not listen to a word he said. Asteria pointed out that Ixion had their father's marriage permit. She said that was right, they had the marriage certificate. As long as Prince Ixion held it, no one, whoever they may be, could annul it. Asteria suggested they have a meal before going to meet Kyros. Ixion agreed. Asteria decided to whip up a quick lunch before meeting with Prince Kyros. Ixion said he would send word to his brother that he was bringing Asteria. Lycanon asked what she was making, and Asteria told him it was a surprise. She filleted the mackerel into 3 pieces and deboned it. She used white wine to get rid of the smell, then seasoned it with grated ginger and oyster sauce and let the flavors meld. For the sauce, she mixed vinegar, sugar, salt, and fresh chili peppers and simmered it down to make a mock-sweet chili sauce. She coated the marinated mackerel with potato starch and deep-fried it until golden brown. She sliced open yesterday's baguette, added lettuce and tomato, sandwiched the fried mackerel inside, and drizzled the sweet chili sauce over it. The mackerel sandwich was complete. Lycan said it was unusual to sandwich fried fish and that it looked truly delicious. Ixion asked if Asteria was ready and she said she was. The meal of mackerel sandwiches and fruit tea was laid out. Lycan exclaimed that it was time to eat. Ixion was impressed, remarking that he had not known such a colorful and beautifully presented cooking style existed for mackerel. Lycan urged them to eat already. They gave a prayer of thanks and began the meal. Lycan bit into the sandwich with a crunch. Lycan was amazed at the fish wrapped in such crispy batter, saying it was like a fish swimming through an ocean of oil and cloaked in golden scales to become a king. He declared it was delicious. Ixion quietly ate his portion and Asteria noticed his reaction. Ixion said the sauce had just a hint of sweetness beneath the tang and called it a perfect accent. He said the mackerel was rich and flavorful. Asteria was moved. Ixion then called out to Asteria and asked if she could have some of the sandwiches made for his older brother as well. Asteria was surprised and asked if he meant for Crown Prince Kyros. Ixion told her that her cooking was exactly what was needed. Asteria asked if her cooking was good enough and Ixion said please. Asteria agreed. She made extra portions for the guards too. She bathed and changed, and set aside Lycan's portion as well. Lycan told her she was all changed and that they should meet up with Ixion and head out. Asteria quietly agreed. Asteria thought about how she was finally meeting Prince Kyros, and that having to talk about witnessing his rendezvous with a married woman weighed heavily on her. Ixion called out asking if Asteria was not ready yet. She shouted back that combing her hair took time. Asteria finished getting dressed. Ixion appeared and told her the dress looked really good on her. Asteria thought it was hard to take a compliment when she was half naked. Ixion came out dressed up as well and apologized for keeping her waiting. Asteria noticed that because he was meeting his beloved older brother, he had put extra effort into his outfit. She thought that in looks alone he was a top-tier handsome guy, though she found it frustrating. Ixion told Lycan it was up to him. They were heading to Crown Prince Kyros. They took off. Lycan teleported them directly into Kyros' room, startling the people inside. Ixion apologized to his brother, saying he had not expected a direct landing. Kyros recognized that it was Ixion. Someone asked if the small dog was the sacred beast Lycan. Lycan confirmed that he normally stayed in his small form. Asteria noticed there were already guests present and the atmosphere was tense. She recognized the married woman from the night of the ball and also spotted Electra. Kyros offered to introduce them. Kyros introduced Princess Salon of the Kingdom of Tethys, Lady Electra of the Ducal House of Harpuia, and his former nanny, Countess Shieldlight. Asteria thought Countess Shieldlight was a stunning beauty for a former nanny. Ixion asked his brother what they were doing there. Kyros explained that for the past few days he had been searching for the woman who owned the shoes. No matter how much searching was done, no woman who fit the shoe could be found. Today Electra had come forward and the shoe had fit her perfectly. Asteria was shocked that Electra was claiming to be the shoe's true owner. The plan had been to clear up the misunderstanding with the shoe's owner and have them testify. Kyros then explained what happened on the night of the ball. After 10 years he had a reunion with Countess Shieldlight. Kyros said the wind had blown something into his eye and Countess Shieldlight was trying to get it out. He said the circumstances of why they were so close together needed explaining and that surely a misunderstanding had occurred. When the owner of those shoes witnessed them, an attempt was made to stop the witness, but she had already taken off at a full sprint. An unexpected uproar followed. Princess Celine's lady's maid had witnessed the scene but apparently only remembered him being with a beautiful woman. While consoling the countess who felt responsible, things spiraled further. Proving that the woman was Countess Shieldlight had been impossible. So the rumor reached Princess Celine and she called off the engagement. Electra had been summoned as a witness but the testimony could not be given. Asteria realized this was because the one who had actually witnessed the scene that day was not Electra, it was herself. The air grew awkward. Ixion told his brother that Asteria could testify to what happened. She was the one who had witnessed him and the others. Kyros was stunned and asked if that was truly the case. Asteria confirmed it and apologized for not coming forward sooner. She explained that at the ball she and Electra had happened to wear identical outfits, so the shoes were likely the same as well. She said she had never imagined they would even share the same shoe size. Asteria testified about the night of the ball. She stated that Crown Prince Kyros was undoubtedly with Countess Shieldlight, and swore on her name as the saintly maiden that she spoke no falsehood. Princess Celine admitted it had all been a misunderstanding. Kyros deeply apologized to Princess Celine for allowing matters to reach that point. Celine asked Prince Kyros whether it would be possible to retract the broken engagement. Kyros said of course. Asteria was relieved and thought it was a happy ending after all. Countess Shieldlight expressed her most sincere gratitude to Prince Kyros. Kyros deeply apologized for the trouble caused to everyone. He said he ought to reflect on his own actions too, as the whole uproar had happened because of him. Asteria thought the resolution felt strangely anticlimactic and noted that the two of them would not ever meet again. Ixion commented that peeping was absolutely forbidden. Lycanon declared the problem was solved and told everyone to eat the mackerel sandwich Asteria had made and deepen their bonds. Ixion told the guests that Asteria had prepared the fish he had been raising. Asteria invited them to help themselves. Princess Salon remarked that Asteria was quite the cook. Kyros mentioned that during a previous hunting trip the bird he had butchered and roasted was awful, and he wished there had been even one cooking lesson. He said game meat needed proper blood draining, herb rubs, and bold seasoning. Electra muttered that cooking was for commoners and called it vulgar. Asteria noticed Electra seemed to be reflecting on it and decided to pretend she had not seen anything. Lycaon told them to stop talking and eat. Kyros asked if he could have some. Everyone bit into the sandwiches. Kyros was surprised and said it was delicious. Ixion said of course it would be. Princess Salon also said it was quite delicious. Asteria was happy. Kyros stopped Ixion and Asteria as they were about to leave and told them to wait. He said that not everything he had explained to Princess Salon was the truth. Asteria was shocked. Kyros revealed what had actually happened. Countess Shieldlight had told him it had been so long and that she was surprised to see him looking so well. She then began crying and told Kyros that she wanted to divorce her husband but he would not allow it. His obsession with her was terrible and he would not even let her leave the house. Her husband happened to be away that day so she was able to come. She told Kyros there was something she had to ask of him. Countess Shieldlight asked Kyros to make her his mistress. Asteria thought that in this world nobles and mistresses went hand in hand and that mistresses were a status symbol. Kyros said her story had moved him, but he refused. Yet she clung to him desperately and through her tears she kissed him. Kyros said that after going that far he changed his mind and felt he had no choice but to take her in as a mistress. He admitted he had been completely swept up in the moment. Asteria had witnessed that scene and the second kiss was then initiated. Ixion understood that was what had happened. Kyros apologized for the intrusion. He then said the commotion turning out to be beneficial was the truth. Following the incident, the Shieldlight Count household was investigated. The marriage had long gone cold, and on top of that, the Countess's reckless spending had driven House Shieldlight to the brink. What was more, the one seeking the divorce was the husband. In other words, the Countess's plan had been to latch onto Prince Kyros before being cast aside by her husband. Kyros said he had nearly fallen for it. He thanked Asteria and told Ixion to hang in there, saying everyone grew up this way. Lycaon said that even he could not purify the bonds between man and woman. Kyros said that learning what havoc a mistress would wreak before marriage was a lesson worth having, and that his infidelity would have shaken the nation's peace. He was glad the realization came before the mistake. Ixion said he would engrave that lesson deep. Asteria said that disputes of the heart lay beyond even a sacred beast's reach and asked Ixion not to wrap it up so dramatically. Kyros told Ixion that it seemed he had found himself a fine woman. He said Asteria had truly saved him. He asked Asteria to support his younger brother for many years to come and entrusted Ixion to her. Asteria said she had no memory of saving anyone. Kyros told Ixion to treasure her without committing acts of betrayal as he had. Ixion confirmed that was his intent. Asteria was flustered and wondered how things had ended up like this. 1 month had passed since Asteria started visiting Prince Ixion's palace. As always, Ixion developed magic tools only to have their commercialization rejected day after day. He called out to Asteria. His latest invention was a weather sheet, a magic tool that could create clear skies in a fixed area. It was incredibly convenient, but the price was 10 gold coins. Asteria calculated that in Japanese yen that was approximately 1 million yen. She asked who on earth was going to buy it, pointing out that the working class in this country earned about 1 gold coin. She asked if that was their daily wage. Ixion said it was their monthly wage. Ixion was shocked that someone could live on just 1 gold coin. Asteria thought that not knowing the living standards of the people was a serious problem. She suggested that if selling to commoners was too difficult, he should change the target market and sell to the wealthy, or target foreign markets. She said if the national treasury prospered, the people's lives would grow richer too. Ixion asked if next time it would be alright to consult with her before making something. Asteria agreed. Ixion thanked her with a smile. Asteria thought that a handsome guy's innocent smile packed a devastating punch and that she ought to be careful. Ixion then said there was something he needed to tell her. His father and mother wanted to try her cooking that evening. Asteria realized that Ixion's father and mother meant the king and queen. Ixion explained that his elder brother had reported it to their father. Her cooking was delicious, and Lycaon liked it too, so they wanted to know what kind of dish it was and try it themselves. Asteria was stunned and yelled at Ixion, asking why he had not led with that. She asked what kind of food the king and queen liked. Ixion said he did not know. Asteria panicked, wondering what on earth she was supposed to make. Asteria asked if Ixion did not talk about his preferences during meals. Ixion said conversation during meals only happened at banquets. She asked if the Astrayer family did that. He said they did not. Asteria recalled her past life, where talking about the day's events during meals, saying which dishes were delicious, and fighting over side dishes had been normal at a family table. Ixion asked if that was from her past life memories. She confirmed it. Ixion said that then maybe they were already a family. Ixion said that every day he told her what he thought of her cooking, and that mealtimes had become something to look forward to. He said he always made sure to tell her it was delicious, and that he was always grateful to her. Asteria said it was just that cooking was what she loved to do. She thought that only now did it hit her. What had been feeling so empty since being reborn was because noble family dynamics were so different from her past life. Into that gaping void in her heart, before she knew it, Prince Ixion and Lycaon had become something like family to her. Asteria told herself it was not the time to be thinking about that dinner for the king and queen had to be made. Lycaon asked what they were making. Asteria decided on manju, her specialty Japanese confection. She said it was a sweet from her past life that she had eaten all the time. Lycaon was excited. She told him she would make some for him too. There were no azuki beans, so she would make white bean paste from kidney beans instead. Kidney beans needed to soak in water for about half a day to soften, but the auto cooker saved time on that. She peeled off the kidney bean skins and boiled them. Since raw kidney beans contained poison, she repeated the parboiling process about 3 times just to be safe. She also removed the scum thoroughly. She added water and covered the pot with a drop lid, then simmered it thoroughly until it fell apart. She strained it to make the texture smooth. She added sugar and salt, then simmered until the liquid evaporated. She kneaded to adjust the firmness, and the white bean paste was complete. For the dough, she mixed flour, yeast, baking soda, sugar, and water together. She let it rest for 10 minutes, then after 30 minutes, she kneaded it further. She wrapped the white bean paste in the dough. There was no steamer available, so she stacked water-filled pots to make a makeshift steamer. She steamed the manju for about 10 minutes. The manju puffed up. The white bean paste manju was complete. Lycaon squished one and said this was manju. He cracked one open and noted the inside was white too. Ixion came in and asked if the manju was finished. Asteria was speaking formally. Lycaon asked why she was using formal speech. Asteria explained that they would be meeting the king and queen soon, so she was practicing proper etiquette. Ixion apologized and said next time he would consult with her properly. Asteria said it could not be helped. Lycaon asked if she was mad. Lycaon told them to put the marital spat aside and let him eat the manju. Asteria insisted they were not married. Lycaon took a bite and declared it was delicious, saying he had never tasted such sweetness before. He said the dough was so fluffy and the filling had such a refined sweetness. Ixion asked Asteria to give him some too. She said all right and handed him one. Ixion leaned in close and ate it from her hand. Asteria thought she did not need to feed the prince like that. Ixion said it was sweet. Lycaon told them it was too pure for innocent eyes and to save the flirting for when he was absent. Asteria insisted they were not flirting and told Lycaon not to use her vocabulary. Asteria prepared to meet the king and queen. She thought the timing was awkward, but it was not a banquet, so day formal wear should be fine. She decided on something elegant and refined. Ixion appeared and apologized for keeping her waiting. He told her the dress suited her well. She thanked him. Asteria told Lycaon that today he absolutely had to wait in front of the door. Lycaon said he understood. Lycaon teleported them directly to the king's hall. His Highness the Third Prince Ixion was announced. The guards were all startled by the sudden arrival. The king greeted Ixion, saying they had been waiting for him. He asked if he might be permitted to see Asteria's lovely face. Asteria was bowing, and the king told her to please raise her face. Asteria looked up. The queen noted her blazing red eyes and lovely pale pink hair, saying she perfectly displayed the Astrayer family traits. The king said that welcoming one of the Astrayer house into their royal family brought him great joy. Asteria recalled that the Astrayer family had been entrusted with governing the land, and the trust placed in them ran deeper than that of the royal house itself. Until now, claiming reluctance to leave the territory had kept them from marrying into the royal house. Ixion introduced Lycaon as the sacred beast, explaining that he had taken a smaller form to conserve his strength. The king started to call him adorable, but stopped himself. The queen exclaimed how adorable Lycaon was. Someone noted that his majesty absolutely loved small precious creatures. The queen called Ixion by his childhood nickname, Ikuon. Ikuon asked her to stop. He wondered why his older brothers were normal while he was the only one treated this way. The queen said Ikuon had just shut himself away in his palace doing research, but that was fine. She admitted she had been constantly worried he would introduce her to some woman he had made with a magic tool because whenever she introduced him to any beautiful woman, he would say he was not attracted to them at all. Ixion told her that was going too far. She insisted she was only speaking the truth. Asteria did not know what kind of face to make listening to this. The queen asked Asteria what had drawn her to Ixion, pointing out that he had chosen her. Ixion said Asteria had understood and praised his magic tools. He also said he was fond of how she gave opinions without holding back. The queen remarked that Asteria was his greatest supporter and called it wonderful. Asteria found herself getting embarrassed. The king said Ixion's cooking was incredibly delicious and that mealtimes had become something he looked forward to. He mentioned that Ixion had never eaten properly as a child, and yet Asteria had brought food for them. The queen said she had heard about it from Kyros and had been curious the whole time. She thanked Asteria for making it for them. Asteria said she hoped it suited their tastes. The ladies' maids had arranged the dish elegantly. The chamberlain had to taste test the food first. After tasting it, he reacted strongly. Everyone asked what was wrong. He said it was delicious. He then said he had never seen this sweet before and wondered what kind of cream it was. The queen told him to stop being so confusing and just eat it already. He said it was delicious again, and the queen called him confusing once more. Asteria noted the atmosphere between the king and the chamberlain felt like parent and child. The king said if there was no issue he would partake. He took a bite and was amazed, saying the dough was so fluffy and the cream inside was rich, yet the aftertaste was refreshing. He said he could eat any number of them. The queen said it was delicious and called it a sweet she had never tasted before. She asked what was inside. Asteria explained it was kidney beans made into a paste. The queen was surprised, saying she had been certain it was cream made from butter mixed with something. The king said the manju exceeded his expectations and called it truly delicious and splendid work. The queen agreed, saying it was little wonder everyone had been so enthralled. Ixion told his parents they would return to the palace. Asteria was relieved. The king told them to wait, saying the main matter had not yet been addressed. He said there was a request he would like to make. Asteria felt something ominous. The king said there was something he would like to ask of Ixion and Asteria. The crown prince and princess of the great northern kingdom of Snowberry would be visiting in 1 month. A small welcoming party was being planned, and the king wanted Asteria to create the light refreshments served there. He said he was hoping for something new and delicious like the manju buns she had made. Asteria was shocked that she had been asked. The queen apologized for the sudden request. She explained that she had consulted the palace chefs but nothing struck her as inspired. She said she thought something more than just sweets would be better. Perhaps a light snack to satisfy a small appetite. The crown prince and princess of Snowberry adored things that were new and fresh, and she wanted to delight them. 10 days from then there would be a competition at the palace. Chefs from across the kingdom would compete to create light snacks for the Snowberry royals, and the dish selected after tasting would be served at the party. The king asked Asteria if she would participate as well. Asteria thought about competing against professional chefs. Ixion spoke up and said that all of Asteria's dishes so far had been delicious, and that with her skills inspiration would surely strike. Asteria could not believe what had just come out of his mouth. Lycanon agreed, saying it was the first time he and Ixion had ever agreed on anything. Ixion told Asteria not to let the pressure weigh on her, and to clear her mind, saying ideas would come naturally. Asteria sighed and thought that Ixion was right. Asteria thought about party snacks, stuffed eggs, canapes, tartines, and pintos. Lyca noticed she was struggling. Asteria said what was being asked of her was not these standard options but something more unusual. Lycan asked if there was anything in her memories that would be a crowd-pleasing hors d'oeuvre. Lycan found an image of sushi in Asteria's memories and asked what it was called. Asteria said it was sushi. She thought it would make an impression at the party but pointed out that people in this country did not eat raw fish. She was also sure they would not like vinegared rice. Lycan said he was extremely curious what it tasted like. Asteria noted the palace fish farm had all kinds of fish, tuna, octopus, and even what looked like salmon. Asteria began making the sushi rice. She used the autocooker's steamed rice to make vinegared rice. She boiled the octopus, which turned red. She swiftly filleted the fish. She said all that was left was the molding. She realized they did not have any soy sauce. She recalled she had mentioned soy sauce before but did not know how to make it. Lycanon asked if he could look at her memories of soy sauce. She said sure. Lycanon noted there was something about spreading a sauce on sushi before eating it. He found images of fermenting beans in her memories but said the details were missing. Asteria guessed those images were from when she had seen it on TV. After much trial and error, oyster sauce came closest to the flavor of soy sauce. Asteria decided on Edo-style sushi, which was eaten with sweetened soy sauce brushed on top. She thought it would be easy to eat even as party refreshments. She wanted to show the color of the sauce, so she applied it between the fish and the rice. Ixion came in and asked if she had finished already. Asteria presented her Edo-style sushi. She had also made mini akura done. Ixion said it was beautiful. Lycanon said the pieces were sparkling like jewels, and that it certainly looked the part. Lycanon tried the sushi and struggled because his mouth was too small. Ixion told Asteria to come over to him instead. Asteria fed Ixion a piece. He reacted with surprise and paused. Asteria worried and asked if it was no good again. Ixion said it was not that he disliked it. Asteria asked if it was too hot. Ixion said no and that it was because she was feeding it to him directly. He said he just wanted to hear what she thought right away. Asteria asked why he would do that. Lycanon declared the tuna nigiri was the best, calling it the ruby of the sea. He said it was so incredibly delicious that it was a pity Ixion could not enjoy it. He moved on to the fish roe, saying the popping texture was irresistible and declaring he was blessed with so many joys in this canine life. Asteria pointed out that he was putting himself in the dog category. Lycan completely devoured everything. Ixion apologized to Asteria. She told him not to worry about it. She thought about what to do now that it was clear the people of this world would not enjoy sushi. She wondered what else could be made. Asteria thought that since the Snowberry guests were coming from a cold country, something warm would be perfect. Lycan suggested Odin. Asteria agreed that something warm sounded right. Lycan described Odin with excitement. Radish soaked in savory broth. Smooth slippery konnyaku, fluffy tender potatoes and eggs with just a dab of mustard on top. He declared Odin sounded amazing. Asteria said the dashi made from kombu was essential but there were no ingredients. She asked if the country even had kombu. Ixion asked what kombu was and said he had never heard of it. Asteria explained it was a type of seaweed. Ixion mentioned that his great-grandfather had been shipwrecked, and when he ate seaweed out of hunger he was tormented by severe stomach pain and nausea. Since then, seaweed had been passed down as dangerous food. Asteria thought that was probably the kombu, and said seaweed was harmless once cooked. She added that she was pretty sure only Japanese people could digest raw seaweed. Ixion said he understood. He offered that there were ships reserved for royalty so they could go harvest some at the sea next time there was a break. Asteria thought it was a smooth invitation to gather kombu but said whenever there was time would be fine. Odin would not make it in time for the competition, so that was out. Asteria wondered what else would hit the spot on a cold day. Lycanon looked through her memories and found an image of something in a glass case, buns from a store with a counter clerk. Asteria recognized it as a convenience store and exclaimed it was Nikamon. The filling was ground meat and the buns looked piping hot. Asteria said Nikamon was the kind of thing that hit the spot when it was cold out. It might not be quite right for a party, but having Ixion make an insulated container to serve them piping hot could be interesting. There was real novelty to it in this world. Ixion said Nikamon sounded wonderful, and suggested they make some. Lycan was looking forward to it. Asteria made the dough first using the auto cooker. For the meat filling she prepared ground pork, mushrooms, and scallions. She added ginger juice, wine, oyster sauce, and sesame oil, then mixed until sticky. Using the dough fermented in the auto cooker, she rolled it into balls, cut the pieces, and flattened them out. She placed the ground meat filling in the center and wrapped it up. After steaming for about 15 minutes, the meat buns were done. Lycan noticed the appearance was similar to manju, but the smell was different. He and Ixion broke one open and the steam and filling poured out. Lycan reacted with excitement. The Merv also tasted one. Everyone declared the Nikamon was incredibly delicious. Lycan and the Merv were especially excited. Ixion asked Asteria to let him have some too. Asteria noticed there was a problem. She fed Ixion a piece and he reacted strongly. Asteria asked if it was not good. Ixion said no and that it was not that he disliked it. He explained he was bothered because she was feeding it to him directly. Asteria asked why he would do that. Ixion said he just wanted to hear what she thought right away. Asteria asked how the meat buns were. Ixion said the fluffy dough was filled with plenty of meat juice in the filling, and the rich aroma of chopped mushrooms and scallions spread throughout. He said it was as rich as drinking a whole bowl of soup. Asteria said that was exactly right, eating them warmed the body right up and they would be the perfect snack for a cold day. Ixion confirmed it was delicious. Asteria said that meant they could enjoy them piping hot any time and asked Ixion to make a warming container just for the meat buns. Ixion asked what shape it had. Lycan found an image in Asteria's head of a warming cabinet from a convenience store. Asteria confirmed that was the one. Lycan transmitted the image to Ixion, which hurt him. Asteria thought drawing a picture would work too. 3 days later, Ixion had finished building the warming container. Asteria was amazed and could not believe it was done already. Ixion said something that simple was nothing. The container looked just like the insulated cabinets at convenience stores. Asteria felt a wave of nostalgia thinking about those days of her past life that could never come back. Ixion asked if she was okay. Asteria said she was fine and thanked him. The day of the competition arrived. Asteria and Ixion stood at their station at the palace with their Nikamon displayed and the warming container ready. Ixion told Asteria to behold the dedicated meat bun warming case he had created. It was an improved version with a glass case and chimney to prevent fogging. Everyone at the competition was shocked. Asteria noted they were probably more shocked that Prince Ixion had showed up in public than by the warming case itself. People were whispering that it was Prince Ixion in the flesh. Someone asked why there was a dog there. Onlookers remarked that Prince Ixion seemed so confident. The other competitors had prepared elaborate dishes, a tricolor moose in Snowberry's national flag colors, and a candy sculpture of a swan. Asteria looked at her own entry and worried that the dish itself was plain and wondered if it would be okay. The competition for the light fare to be served at the reception honoring the Crown Prince and Princess of Snowberry began. It was held in the same standing reception format as the actual event, and the King and Queen would personally taste and judge each entry. The King and Queen tasted the other entries. The King said the presentation was lovely but that the candy sculpture's beak kept stabbing the inside of his mouth and that it was hard to eat. The Queen agreed that it was no light snack and said it was a dessert. Asteria thought the comments were pretty harsh. Asteria listed the problems. Their turn was dead last. The King and Queen would already be full. The presentation of the other dishes was good but the Nikamon looked plain and it was not exactly a light snack either. She could not see a single way to win. 30 minutes passed. The King called for the next entry. He noticed the steam coming from Asteria's station and said there was a mouth-watering aroma. The Queen was surprised. They saw that the buns were arranged in a glass case. The King and Queen approached Asteria's station. Ixion presented the dish, explaining that it used a specialized device he had created and that it was a dish called meat buns, prepared by his fiancée Asteria. Lycon lent his support as well. The queen was thrilled, saying her son, the infamous shut-in, was out in public speaking so admirably, and that it made her so happy. She also noted that he had even introduced Asteria. Asteria thought it somehow felt like cheating. Others in the crowd remarked that even the sacred beast Lycon endorsed the dish and called it wonderful. The king thanked Asteria and said she had done well. He said that even the sacred beast Lycon had refused to appear in public, and yet here he was. He thanked her for reforming his son so much. The queen said they were truly grateful from the bottom of their hearts. The other chefs looked on with eyes that seemed to say they thought it was a farce. Asteria apologized. They then moved to have the king and queen taste the meat bun. Asteria warned them that it was hot and to be careful not to burn the inside of their mouths. The poison taster took the meat bun first. Asteria told them to eat it once it had cooled down. The queen blew on it to cool it and told the taster to do the same. The taster blew on it carefully. The queen then told him to enjoy. Asteria noticed the queen feeding the poison taster, reminded her of when she had fed Ixion the same way. And she got embarrassed. Ixion also realized the same thing and asked himself if he was a pubescent boy. The poison taster bit into the meat bun and reacted with shock. He said the meat juice flooding his mouth had shocked him so much he nearly choked. Asteria called him a confusing person and said there were no problems then. The king held the warm meat bun and exclaimed that it was warmer than expected. The queen noticed the warmth and said it had been so long since she had a warm meal like that. Asteria realized that after the food was tasted for poison it got cold, so every day the king and queen ate cold food. The king took a bite and was stunned. He exclaimed at the flood of meat juices and said the umami of ingredients beyond just meat wrapped in dough flowed through him. Asteria had no idea what his metaphor meant, but she could tell he was saying it was delicious. The queen said it was delicious and that a warm meal after so long soaked into her very body. She said it was strange that despite the simple appearance, the depth of flavor was remarkable. The results would be announced in 1 hour. The competitors were shown to prepared guest rooms to wait. Lycanon looked annoyed. He was trembling and declared that the meat buns were a fusion of Asteria's cooking and his wisdom, calling them the world's greatest and strongest creation, and that there was no way they could lose to some other chef's mundane dishes. He was also upset because all the remaining meat buns were supposed to be his, but they had all been distributed to the king's attendants. Lycon growled and demanded food. Asteria told him she would make it for him when she got home and asked if he was not tired. Lycon said it was nothing. He then told her to make the meat buns, take the warming container with Ixion on vacation and go gather some kombu. Asteria wondered why anyone would gather kelp on a precious vacation. Asteria told Lycanon that royalty had more pressing matters to attend to. She mentioned that many villages and towns still suffered from stampede damage, and if time permitted, restoration efforts ought to take priority. She added that the kelp-gathering magic tool was not ready yet. She then admitted that spending time with Prince Ixion did sound kind of fun though, and she caught herself. Ixion said he had thought of a good magic tool. He said that by applying the heat retention technology from the warming case he could make plates that keep food from getting cold. Asteria was surprised. Asteria explained that the king and queen had to wait for the poison tasting and she had heard they were eating cold food because of it, and that was when it hit her. Ixion agreed that it might be a good idea and said the king and queen would be delighted. Asteria added that if they also made pots that keep food warm, it would not just help the king and queen but lots of people would benefit. Ixion said that could wait and that first he had to make the kombu trap. Asteria thought about the target audience for the warming plates, wives waiting for their husbands to come home, soups from street stalls. Ixion remarked that Asteria was kind. Lycon said she was kind, or rather he trailed off and let it go. An hour later the time had come for the results to be announced. Everyone was nervous. The king declared that the light fare befitting the reception was Lady Asteria's meat bun. Asteria, Ixion and Lycon stood together as the winners. Asteria thought that with Ixion and Lycon's full support it had been a victory with 100 million bonus points before the tasting even started. The other chefs clapped. The queen said it was truly delicious and that she believed the crown prince and princess of Snowberry would be pleased as well. The king told Asteria he was counting on her. Asteria said yes and received an appointment certificate for head chef of the reception. She thanked them. The king addressed Ixion, saying he had always thought Ixion's contraptions were incomprehensible nonsense, but that the dedicated meat bun warmer was wonderful. He said he would be happy if Ixion could come up with more useful magic tools for them next time. Ixion eagerly said yes. Ixion called Asteria his pride and joy of a fiancée. She said it was embarrassing. Lycon told Ixion well done. The day the crown prince and princess of Snowberry were to arrive came quickly. Snow was falling. The palace chefs and Asteria prepared the meat buns in the warming cases. The crown prince and princess of Snowberry arrived 1 hour late. The crown prince was a large imposing man. Asteria was shaking from nerves and thought her commoner spirit was acting up. She noted the stern atmosphere and thought that since she had heard they loved new things she had figured they would be younger. The crown prince of Snowberry remarked that it was cold out and said he had thought his country was the coldest, but this nation was just as cold. Asteria was relieved that he seemed like a friendly sort. Kyros guided the Snowberry guests and invited them to partake of some warm refreshments. Asteria thought that Kyros was the root of all this, since the whole situation had only happened because he had recommended her cooking to the king and queen. Kyros looked at Ixion with a knowing expression, and Ixion stared back, wondering why. Ixion presented the dish to the Snowberry royals, explaining that it had been specially prepared for them. It was a dish called meat buns. The crown prince said it was the first time he had heard that name and remarked that from its appearance alone it was impossible to imagine what kind of dish it could be. The princess asked if it was a dish from this country. Ixion explained that it was a recipe from his fiancée Asteria la Astrayer, inspired by ancestral culinary texts and an ancient recipe. Asteria thought to herself that was the story they were going with. The Snowberry royal's own poison taster, a knight, tested the food. He confirmed there were no issues. Asteria thought one taster was not nearly enough. The crown prince picked up a meat bun and noticed it was warm. He asked if they were meant to eat it as is. The princess asked if they should just bite right in. Asteria confirmed that was the proper way to eat it. The crown prince broke the bun open and was shocked at all the juice inside. The princess exclaimed at the meat juice. They both took bites. The crown prince declared it was too delicious. The princess agreed enthusiastically. The crown prince immediately asked for another one. The princess also wanted one more. The response exceeded expectations. The over 50 meat buns prepared vanished in the blink of an eye as even the Snowberry attendants and ladies' maids received portions. Asteria said she never imagined it would bring such delight. The crown prince of Snowberry then said the response did not end there. He said he would very much like to acquire the technique for making meat buns, along with the warming device. The crown prince and princess of Snowberry bowed before their majesties. Ixion's magical warming device would be the first of his inventions to enter commercial trade. Asteria explained that Snowberry's climate was so harsh that even warm dishes cooled down almost immediately. They wanted to build a meat bun factory and launch it as a major product. Snowberry wished to order meat bun warmers by the hundreds. The blueprints existed and the production costs were kept low. Mass production was possible too. Asteria was surprised. The national treasury was enriched as a result, and the first diplomatic exchange with Snowberry was a resounding success. Ixion showed his face at the Ministry of Magic in the palace every day, keeping busy. Asteria started getting summoned to their majesties' tea parties more often, dragging along a reluctant Ixion. The queen thanked Asteria for bringing Ixion along again and called her dependable. She said that even though they used to only see Ixion about once a year at most, lately he had been working so diligently at the Ministry of Magic. She called Asteria an accomplished young woman and said she was far too good for Ixion. The king said that if Kyros were not already engaged, he would want to make Asteria the crown princess. Ixion declared there was no way he was handing her over to someone like his brother. He grabbed Asteria and said she was the fiancée he chose. The king said that Kyros did have his uncertainties. However, he noted that both Ixion and Asteria were the type who achieve greatness by working together, and said how wonderful it would be if Kyros' shortcomings could be corrected as well. Asteria overheard and thought about it. The queen said that unless Kyros and Ion married first, Ixion and Asteria could not become husband and wife. She told them to please be patient for now and that within 2 years something would be arranged. The king said he looked forward to their wedding. Asteria thought that even though somewhere in her heart she had believed the engagement would be called off someday, it had now officially been recognized by their majesties. She wondered how things had ended up like this. Lycanon lay outside looking over the city. He said something was strange and that he could not hear a thing.